The Dallas Cowboys look to bounce back this upcoming 2022 NFL season as they suffered a heartbreaking loss to the 49ers in the NFL playoffs last season. With Mike McCarthy entering his third year as head coach for the Cowboys, how can he turn around for himself and his team? And with Dan Quinn returning as defensive coordinator for the Cowboys, how can he keep that same momentum and play style and mentality for this year's defense as he did for last year's? And what moves have the Cowboys made this free agency? All that will be covered today in Cooper's Sports Podcast.
No, dude.
And you are now listening to Cooper Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Cooper Brooks, bringing you content from the NBA and NFL each podcast, wherever you may be listening from YouTube or Spotify. Today is episode 3, and today will be about the Dallas Cowboys, my favorite NFL team. So, we're going to get into it. I hope y'all enjoy it. I apologize for yesterday. Yesterday I did not record or upload a podcast at all, but we're not going to get into that right now. So, we're going to get into it. Episode 3. Let's begin. Alright, so as y'all know, the Dallas Cowboys are headed into this 22 NFL season with some new changes and you'll see some new and old faces. The Cowboys free agency this year has been very wonky. It is not, I don't think it's been good, but I don't think it's been good enough. Like, seriously, Dallas or Jerry, what are y'all doing in that front office right now? Like, y'all have not made any big signings besides re-signing players or trading away a receiver that could have stayed with us. We'll get into that later as there's reasons why he couldn't stay with us anymore. But here's the thing. Here's what ticks me off right now. Is that the Cowboys, as I've mentioned, have not made any big free agent moves. They missed out on a lot of big names. A lot of big names. Names like Zadarius Smith, who was signed by the Ravens, by the way, and he refused to sign, and we still couldn't go get him. Dak Prescott, he was recruiting, telling Jerry and Steven, let's get Von Miller down here. Nope, signed 6 years with the Buffalo Bills. Who else? There was Bobby Wagner. Apparently there was talks between them. That didn't happen, but I knew that wasn't going to happen anyway. But still, like Bobby freaking Wagner. Who else was out there? Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger, signs with the Saints. I'm probably missing some other huge names out there, but those are the huge names that I can think of right now. But are you kidding me? Those are big names, Jerry and Steven, and y'all two just sat back like it was nothing. Come on now, y'all can do better than that. And look, I understand it's about the money and it's about all the contracts and the cap space. I know, but we have, with the trade of Amari Cooper and some other cuts on the team, you had a lot of cap space to sign big names. I'm just saying. Alright. So, here's where we are now. We're in June. OTAs are now done. You gotta get ready for practice in the fall when preseason starts. I think I think camp or something starts next July. And preseason starts in August, so that's when you start actually practicing. I just want a good season for this year. I just want to have a great season. I just want everything to be right. I want us to make the playoffs. I don't want to have us get first round bounced each year. Okay, you know how annoying that gets. Goodness. All right. I'm gonna try not to yell a lot, but this is a podcast, so I want to get out my opinion here. So we're gonna get into how this past season went. We're gonna get into how free agency went, how free agency is going, and what changes we made, and then we'll get into coaching. All right. So last season, y'all know how it went. Dak Prescott coming off of a I want to say Achilles tear on his foot in 2020. I can't remember the exact injury, something like that, in Achilles. Tore it, gets hurt, out for the rest of the year, comes back, looking better. First week against Tampa Bay, enormously great, amazing, comes out hot. 402 yards his first game. They still lost. Should have won it because it was pass interference, but that's old news. He he first half of the season he's going great. He's doing good. He's progressing. And then after that Patriots game, when he gets off that injury and he doesn't play against Minnesota, after that game it just goes downhill from there. He loses a couple of his receivers due to injuries. One was COVID. Y'all know who that was. And then after that it just starts going down. When we get to the easy teams, now it's their easy teams like our division rivals. So we're gonna beat them. You expect them to play good. But even when we were playing our NFC East rivals last year, Dak still was like our team was still slumpy. Our defense had to carry at one moment. I feel like had to carry a couple games there towards the end of the year. But still, Dak did better in the first half of the season. But when he got to the second half, I guess you could say he went on a slump. He just didn't play well. So with that intended, here's what I think: Dak Prescott's going to come back a lot better. I think Dak will be 100%. They've already said, Mike's already said, and he said himself, he's 100%. And he feels a lot better and ready to come back this season. Dak Prescott is the quarterback that you need for when it comes to passing, and he could, I guess, run. They want to start using him on running plays this year. Mike McCarthy had said, but I like him more in the passing category. Dak can pass and he can bomb it. And when he finds his receivers, he can give it to his receivers in clutch moments and in good plays. Dak has had such an impact on the passing game that when he went down in the 2020 season in Week 5 against New York, here's the passing stat. He had 1,856 yards, okay? That wasn't passed until a few weeks later in the season. So Dak holding the passing yard record while being injured still, him having that while still being injured is beyond my amazement. Because that 2020 season, it was just, our defense was not the best that year, okay? It was terrible. And then Dak goes down, so then it just made it even more worse. And then Dak was carrying our offense that year. But other than that, before he went down, obviously, in Week 5. But then last season, our offense is always going to be the number one offense in passing yards because of our talent we have on the offense. It's just that when it comes to big moments and these easy games, it's just that we can't perform well. The offense can perform well, but it's just sometimes like they get into these moments where like they can't play well, or they just like, as I mentioned, that little run we went on in the second half where our offense would play and it would be our defense getting more big moments than our offense because we would be getting barely any yards. But I guess the Giants would barely beat him. Washington would barely beat him because Dak threw an ugly pick six, which I don't know why he would throw that. I don't know who he was throwing to on that play. But it's moments like that that make it where this offense has been on a slump the second half so far, and it's the defense that's been coming up in big key moments. Yeah, but back to Dak. Dak can deliver to his offense, and he shows commitment to this team every game. He shows up, never late to anything. He goes full commitment. Before his injury, he wasn't missing any games. He had not missed one start. From his Week 1 start from Week 1 in 2016 till 2020 in Week 5 against New York, he had never missed a start. And that's the quarterback I love. And that's why, I don't know why people bash Dak a lot, though. Because I see people throughout the years bash Dak. He's had a bad couple years. 2017 was probably the worst year for us. 2019, I don't want to go back to 2019. 2019, you had all the talent in the world on that offense, and y'all were the best. And yet y'all still couldn't make the playoffs 8-8. Are you kidding me? And you had Jason Garrett. I meant Jason Garrett, but we're not going to talk about Jason Garrett. But yeah, that's what I love about Dak. And like Dak, as I said, he's just amazing. I hope he stays a Cowboy forever. I hope he wins a Super Bowl going into his seventh. Hold on, let me fix that real quick. I hope Dak wins a Super Bowl before he retires or leaves the Cowboys. Going to his seventh year, I'm confident that he'll do good this year with him being 100%. And yeah, I think he's going to do great. Now let's get into some changes that have been going on so far. So as y'all know, this was at the start. This was like at the very peak of free agency. This was like at the very start of it when it started that week. The Cowboys had to ship Amari Cooper out of Dallas. They had to trade him away. Yes. And why did they have to ship Amari Cooper away? Probably because of all these contracts that they're signing here with players that shouldn't be getting 6 years and $90 million. You know who I'm talking about. Love you, Zeke. I still love you. But come on, do we really need to give him that much? 6 years, $90 million. Dak gets that 4-year deal. Obviously, I don't go against it, but they did reconstruct his contract, so that makes me feel a little better about it. But still, you sign all these players to 5 years and 4-year deals. Amari Cooper had a 5-year deal that he signed with us back in 2020, and now we were over the hump for cap space, so we didn't know what to do. People were all saying, "Oh, release Ezekiel Elliott, release." Okay, here's the problem: we couldn't cut Zeke because if we cut Zeke, that's guaranteed money. So we couldn't cut him. If we cut him, it would make us no good. It would just make the situation worse. So with the release of Amari Cooper, it cleared up a lot of cap space. Am I happy that he's gone? Yes. Or am I happy that he's gone? No, I'm not happy that he's gone. But what am I? I'm not happy. Yeah, I'm not happy that he's gone. I was a little ups. I wasn't that upset when he got traded because they even announced that they're gonna have to trade or release him, and I was like, what? So I was really upset. But then I figured out I was like, okay, it's for cap space. I understand why. We can just let him go. Like I understood why after we released him. Like I was when we released him, I was like, or traded him. I'm sorry, I should say. I was like, okay, I can see now why it's not that upsetting a little now. But hey, we got a new off. Our offensive receivers this year is looking better. You got C.D. Lamb going into year 3. You got Michael Gallup, who's gonna probably miss the first couple or few weeks of the NFL season because of that injury he sustained against the Cardinals of his ACL tear. So he's going to be out for a while. And then you have James Washington from Pittsburgh, who I think he'll be good. I think he'll be good. I think Dak works very well with young receivers. Like you saw when CD first came in the league, Dak was giving it to him. He gave him good balls. And then in 2022 or 2021, this past season, he was giving it to him real well with a lot of touchdowns. And when Amari got here, sorry, no. Hold off on Amari for a minute. And then Michael Gallup gets here, and then he makes him into a player, which I think that's good. When Michael Gallup got here, I didn't know how he was going to be, and then Dak makes Michael Gallup better. So that's how I think. I think Dak Prescott works very, very well with young receivers because he can make them good. Anyway, so back to the Amari trade. Them having trading Amari is because of cap space, as I mentioned. And now with the clearance of cap space, you now have 25 million, I think it is right now, and you released other players. So what do the Cowboys do? As I mentioned, they don't sign any big names, and that hurts me. That hurts. Hey, Jerry, you last time you won the Super Bowl was what? 1998-7. I know I'm a huge Cowboys fan, and I'm forgetting when we won a Super Bowl, but besides the fact that just shows you how long we haven't won a Super Bowl. Hey, Jerry, you haven't won a Super Bowl in years. I think you should go get some big free agent names if you want to improve this team because you're talking about getting back to the promised land, back to the Super Bowl, and you want your team to improve and stop having these same mistakes. Well, how about you go get yourself a Zadarius Smith? How about you go get yourself a Tyrann Mathieu? Or how about you go get yourself a Von Miller or a Bobby Wagner? Oh, but you can't do that. Because a lot of times, Jerry, I love you, but sometimes, Jerry, you have a big ego, and that's what probably causes from holding back, okay? It's all about the money with you and your son. You're either going to fire yourself as GM, go get a new GM that can actually do work instead of just sitting back behind that desk and just not making any big moves. Again, Jerry, love you, but come on, man. You gotta step your game up here this offseason if you want to progress this season and go win a Super Bowl. Okay? You fired your longtime head coach Jason Garrett for 8 years, fired him, got Mike McCarthy. Now, the reason why the hire of Mike McCarthy came in, which is I think why he hired Mike McCarthy, is because Mike McCarthy has been somewhere that Jerry hasn't been in the last 25 years. And you know what that is, guys? That's a Super Bowl. That's right, a Super Bowl. And Mike McCarthy worked very well with Aaron Rodgers back in Green Bay. They won a Super Bowl together. So that's why I think he also hired him. Now we're going to switch over to... Oh, before I switch over to coaching, by the way, let's talk about Zeke. Ezekiel Elliott, in my eyes, is a running back that can do anything that he wants, and he can just rush and speed whatever he wants to do. Zeke is your franchise running back, as we all know. When Zeke first got here in the league with when Dak and Zeke got here in the league first, I didn't know what to expect. When I saw Dak play that first preseason game and Zeke play that first preseason game against the Rams back in 16, I was like, wow, Dak Prescott, this kid number 4 is pretty good. I think he's got some in him. And then Zeke gets here, and I'm like, wow, okay, I see it. When we drafted Zeke, I was very happy. He was from Ohio State, so I knew he was going to be good. You get to the 2016 NFL season, and these two rookies just go off. They bomb. They go off bombing. They go off with Dak goes off with rookie numbers. He goes off with passing yards. Goes off. Zeke gets his numbers. Wins rushing title that year in 2016. Dak wins rookie of the year. It was just a great year that year for Cowboy fans in 2016. And then we lost to Green Bay on a Mason Crosby field goal. Came back. We almost came back and won that game. We should have won that game. I feel like the way we were playing with that comeback, I think we should have came back. But besides the point, that rookie year was the best for them. I think that was one of their best years. That's going to be put up there as one of their best years in Cowboys history for sure. Their rookie year went 13-3, by the way. Uh, Zeke's numbers through the years though they've gone down a little. They've each year that Zeke's played in his numbers they've gone down. 2017 he got that. Oh, by the way, in 2017 also is the reason why his numbers were so low is because remember he got suspended 6 weeks. Now he was supposed to be suspended the first 6 weeks of the season, but they obviously appealed it and they didn't use that. They decided to use it at the end of the season. They decided to use it at the end of the season. I think that was highway robbery right there because they did it on purpose, I'm sure, so that way we can miss the playoffs. But we're not here to talk about suspensions. We're here to talk about the Cowboys and their issues. So with Zeke, I think the problem with Zeke is that everybody thinks that he's slow and he can't get blocked, that he can't progress. Well, he also has linemen that are like always hurt, and you always have these new linemen that come in and are like, "Oh my gosh, what do we do?" Oh, and speaking of linemen, I'm so glad that Connor Williams is out of here. Okay, I like the guy, but are you kidding me? The amount of holding calls that man would get on our squad, even in Madden, he was giving me that stuff. I did not, I don't want to say I hate him because I don't hate him as a person, but I just didn't like the way that he was the reason why we got so many holding calls in this past season. So with him gone, yeah. So, but anyway, back to Zeke. We'll get to the lineman in a little bit. Zeke can have a good blocking system with that line with Zach Martin, Tyron Smith, Neville. No, I'm not Neville Gallimore. Tyler Diaz, that center. Lyle Collins is gone. Who else am I missing? Who am I missing on that line? I don't know. I gotta look later. But that line brings you good system. And with Zeke also, he's had injuries. He's had past injuries this season. I think that's what caused him to be so bad. Not bad, but caused him to be so low this year because of the way that his injuries with his PCL, whatever. Apparently, he played through an injury through the season. And I guess we were supposed to figure that out at the end of the year so people could say, oh, shoot, I'm going to feel bad for you. I'm sorry. Well, you played an injury, you should have rested unless it wasn't that bad and you were cleared to play. But anyway, yeah, you get to that. You have the injuries. Tony Pollard. Now, here's the thing with Zeke and Pollard. Pollard is a lot faster, and he brings. I'm going to say Pollard's a little more faster than Zeke as of right now. When I think Zeke's going to have a bounce back year this year. I think in my eyes, I don't know what y'all think. Y'all might think I'm crazy, but as a Cowboys fan, I got to trust our franchise running back. Pollard, I think between him and Pollard is a very young running back still, and he's very athletic, and he could take the ball, run and sprint, and go up the field real quickly. Against the Chargers in Week 2, he had a big game where he got I think a rushing touchdown, and he got a good couple runs in. Last year in the year before that in 2020 against the 49ers, he started because Zeke was out. He got a huge touchdown towards the end of the game, which was very huge for us. That sealed the game pretty much. But with that saying, Zeke and Pollard are both running backs that we're going to have in this system, and that's how the system's going to work. But in order that for them to work, I want them to be healthy, and they got to have a good line in front of them. Now to the linemen. the linemen. So when Dak and Zeke got here the 2016 year, the Cowboys had one of the best offensive line. They were number one, I believe. They were rated the number one offensive line that season because you had your guys like Travis Frederick, again, Tyron Smith, and Zach Martin. Did you have? I don't know if we had Collins. I gotta look back at that again too. Shoot, I should have looked at that before I even started this podcast, so I would know who was on that line. But with that addition, the Cowboys had the number one offense in that year of 2016, and that's what made Zeke be able to be that good and sprint everywhere through the field and get you like 100 yards a game and get you so many yardage, and that's what I love and miss about it. And with that, the offensive line. Now here's the issue for the offensive line this year, and what has been for the past few years or a few times. The offensive line has gotten huge injuries, like Tyron Smith always getting hurt, Zach Martin getting hurt. The line is just so unhealthy. Sometimes I don't know what to think at this point. But when that offensive line is healthy, they can bring you good blocking. With these young guys that they keep bringing in, I think they're pretty good. They bring a lot to the team. With Connor Williams, I just had issues with him. Like I just couldn't stand him with his holding calls. As a person, I don't want to say I hate him as a person because I'm sure he's a very nice man in real life or out here in the world. But when he played football and he gave us so many holding calls, I just couldn't believe it. Like that's what killed us. That's what killed us this season, and that's what killed us in that 49ers game was holding calls. I think we had the most holding calls in that game in NFL history. Like, it was just unbelievable how that game played out against the 49ers. And in the Oakland Raiders game at Thanksgiving, I don't even want to get started on that one. That Oakland Raiders game with Anthony Brown hold call, like, that's stupid. Okay, first of all, he couldn't even turn around on that play. Like, you know the play I'm talking about where Michael Parsons just sacked Derek Carr and he threw it to his receiver. Derek Carr threw it to the receiver. I can't remember which one it was. But Anthony Brown was the corner on that play. He couldn't turn around. It wasn't his fault. I'll give him that. But still, 4 holding penalties? Like, come on. Apparently those refs throw out the most holding calls out of all ref staffs. So with that, I think okay, yeah, that game Thanksgiving we're gonna win this year against the Giants anyway. So, but never say never, right? Now the offensive line they have a new addition this year. They got a couple new additions. We drafted that first. We used our first round pick, and we should have got what's his name from off the defense. I forgot, but we should have gotten we got offensive tackle Tyler Smith. I think is his name from forgot his college. But I was a little with the pick because we don't need more offensive line. We need more defense. To by the way, which we'll get into defense. I feel like we needed to fill in more defense to fill in that gap for Randy Gregory for leaving. So I think we needed somebody to draft a player, a defensive guy that could fill in that spot. We took a receiver later in the draft, which I think he'll be good for us. But but I think we should that first round pick should have been like somebody that was deep. There was one defensive player out there that I wanted us to get, and some other people were like, "Yeah, we should have gotten him." I forgot his name. I'll have to look at it. But with that, I think he'll be good. I think we're not gonna. I think we're supposed to put him at a different spot, at a different position for this season. So I think with him being that young, I think he'll be good for this offensive line. I think he can bring a lot. So at first I was like, but then I was like, okay, this offensive line has lost a couple, especially with us cutting Collins, which also we cut Collins before June 1st, so that made a lot of cap space for him, which is why we have 25 million also is for cutting Collins. But with getting rid of Williams and Collins, that kind of hurt a little bit. So picking up that lineman, I guess it works. It's useful and it's helpful. But I think that offensive line will be amazing. I think they'll be great. So with that, with the offense and the receivers, CD Lamb's our number one guy. I think he'll be the number one guy. He's a great route runner. I think he deserves to be in the slot more than he does on the deep. Michael Gallup deserves to be on the deep route, on the outside, on the deep as Amari was. Because I think getting rid of Amari, I think we still have an Amari Cooper. I think Michael Gallup is like Amari. He can catch when deep balls are thrown, Michael Gallup can catch them. When it comes to the clutch moments, he can catch them. And Michael Gallup is actually a great toe dragger when it comes to the football. And he's a great guy with keeping his feet in. Against the Saints in week, I can't remember what week it was, but against the Saints, he had a very touchdown where he kept his feet in and he had the toes standing up. So that's a good catch. That's what I like about Gallup. But with Gallup, he's young still. He brings a lot. Sign him on a 5-year. I'm glad we're keeping him. And then um, we have that receiver from Pittsburgh. I already forgot his name, and I literally just said it earlier. But he'll be good too. And CeeDee Lamb with his route running and with the way he plays football and the way that Dak gets to him, I think he'll be a great route runner. So he's our number one guy, and I think he'll be a lot better this year. But here's the thing that ticked me off a little bit about CeeDee Lamb, and it's Kellen Moore. Are you kidding me? Like, CeeDee Lamb, from what I remember from this past season against the Falcons, Week 10, when we absolutely blew them out of the water that game. Week 10 against the Falcons, CeeDee Lamb had 2 touchdowns, right? 2 touchdowns from Dak. He had 2 touchdowns that game. After that, I don't recall ever seeing another touchdown from CeeDee Lamb. Kellen Moore, how is that offense supposed to operate when you're one of your top guys on the receiver corps don't even get a touchdown anymore, and Week 10 is his last time, and you have 7, 8 more weeks to go? Come on, man! Like, you gotta work. Kellen Moore's still young, and he's been a great offensive coordinator. I'm glad he's not leaving. By the way, we'll get to coaching later in a minute. Kellen Moore though is amazing when it comes to the offensive coordinators. He makes up a lot of good plays. But anyway, we'll get to the coaching next. The Cowboys offense here's my final take on the offense. I think the offense will still be better even without Amari. We're still going to be good. With Zeke coming back, I think he's going to be healthy. I think he's going to think that he's going to hear all the bad talk about him. He's going to use that as momentum. Dak coming back 100%, and with that line, I think it's going to be great. All right, we're going to get to coaching, and then we'll get to defense. Coaching. I'm glad all 3 coaches are coming back. That's good. I like that. Mike McCarthy, though, he's received backlash for some hard issues this past season with clock management, with the way he uses clock management, the way he's coaching his guys. Like, he's received a lot of backlash for. But clock management, it's issues like the one against the Chargers where we were setting up for a field goal to win it all, and he couldn't see the clock, so he didn't know where to call the timeout or not. We finally got one off, luckily. There's one moment against the Giants in week 15 where we had the ball near the goal line and we tried to get a ball touchdown before half, but the clock was running down and he wasn't calling a timeout or anything, so then we still had time to get a touchdown. It's moments like that make you think, come on, Mike, seriously? And Mike McCarthy's coaching, I have faith in him because he's won a Super Bowl already with Aaron Rodgers. So that says something about him. But I don't know if it's just because he took a year off from coaching. Actually, I don't think he even took a year off from coaching. I think he just got fired mid-season and then he signed with the Cowboys the next season. But I still have faith in him. I think he's going to bring us to a deep playoff run. I think he will. I'm gonna go maybe as far as say I think he can win a Super Bowl with us, because if he already won one, I think that with him he's going to win one with us. But it's just his coaching style, like. The 14 seconds left with the Dak Prescott running up the middle, you could say a lot about that. You could have said, we could have just run a short pass, through it, run a couple yards, and then just go down and spike it. Yeah, you could have done that. Or maybe you still call that run play with Dak, running up the middle, but maybe go down a couple more seconds early. If you go down a couple more seconds early in that rep, by the way, you have to give the ball to the ref. That was an issue. That was the problem. You have to give the ball to the ref, and that's also that's what an issue brings back to McCarthy, is that he didn't teach his guys, hey, when we're in key moments like that, you have to hand the ball to the ref. Mike, you got to teach your guys that. You should be practicing that with him. It's like the mistake with the Falcons. They didn't know you had to touch the ball until it went past, 10 yards on that onside kick in 2020 when we came back and beat him, which was a choke job by Atlanta again, of course. Nothing worse choke job than Super Bowl 51. Sorry, Atlanta. I had to throw that out. But it's big moments like that that you have to talk to your guys about and say, hey, be like, hey, so if we're going to go into this 49ers game, we have to run a play with 14 seconds left. I'm going to bring a ref out. And this was also discussed on Skip and Shannon. Shannon was making a point where you should, and I think other people were too, you bring out a referee and practice this with your guys so you know, hey, give the ball to this guy so he can place it. And when I saw the ref get in the way with the ball, I was like, hey, he got in the way. But then I realized, oh, you have to hand the ball to the ref so that way he can place it. That's how it is for any moment like that. But McCarthy's but McCarthy calling that 14-second play, I think it could have worked only if he went down a couple more seconds and if we handed the ball off to the ref. We might have not gotten a touchdown. We could have, but it was worth the shot. We could have thrown a Hail Mary or something to win the game, which I wish we would have won, but yeah, who cares? I'm over it. Kind of am, kind of not. Now, Kellen Moore was our backup, so he knows what it's like to be playing the quarterback position. He leaves. He comes our offensive coordinator. I think he's a great offensive coordinator. By the way, you guys. I think when it comes to his offensive coordinating, he can bring a lot of good trick plays. As you saw last year, this past season, he brought a lot of trick plays. There was a couple where Cedric Wilson was the quarterback, where it's one of those plays where the quarterback hands it off to the running back, I think, and then you pass it off to your receiver. He dots it to another one. He made some key plays right there. I think he used to be quarterback or in position back in college. I can't remember. He brings he brought that he brought those plays out of the bag. There's another trick play a cool play that we ran back in week 16 against the Washington football team, which are now the Commanders. But it was a play where we were at the goal line, and that's the game where we crushed them and blew them out. Dak had the ball, and he rolls out, he hikes it, and then I think he fakes it or something, and then he finds his wide open lineman Terrence Stew, who was eligible. It's plays like that where we do handoffs like that and give the receiver a chance to throw the ball and give linemen chances with trick plays. I think is great. Kellen Moore's offensive coordinating and his play style has just been amazing for us to create big offense. But yet again, you can't euthanize CeeDee Lamb and you don't use him and you can't get him any more touchdowns because also our offense was kind of going down in that second half of the year once we got towards the playoffs. But also that ends well, we were still one of the best offenses in the league. But here's my thing: how are we always the number one offense when it comes to passing yards, but we just cannot succeed? We can succeed, but it's just dull moments where that offense cannot get going. It's like what they say. It's like what they say in the NFL. It's like what they say. You see it on you see it on paper and you think, "Oh my gosh, this is going to be the best squad ever. They're going to win a chip." But then when they actually perform, it's like, "What the heck? Are you kidding me?" And the Cowboys have talent. This takes me back to 2019. We had talent, but we just couldn't perform well, and we lost some pretty stupid games the way we should have won, like the Jets. Should have won that one. But anywho, that's a game that we should. Those are, that's a talented offense that I think can make a good deep playoff run. I just wish that we would have made a playoff run this year because I feel like this was the year we could have. But yet again, we say that every year. It's our year, but no, I don't think after that playoff loss against the 49ers, I don't think I heard one Cowboys fan say, we're going to be back next year. Or like next year we're going to the Super Bowl. I don't think I heard that at all after that 49ers loss within weeks after that. Because we know how it goes. The Cowboys like to give us good moments in the playoffs. They like to make us have hope. And then when we get to the playoffs, it's like, or I'm sorry, the regular season at first, they like to give us hope. When we get to the playoffs, it's like, dude, what the heck? But yet again, I still love this team. They're my team. I love them. I think they're going to do great this year. I never want to put down a team. I never want to put down my team. When it comes to teams with me, even no matter the outcome of the playoff loss or the way the season went, I still love them. I know they're going to be a lot better from the previous season. They're going to come back strong next year and do a lot better. All right. So now let's get back to coaching. Let's get back. Let's go to Dan Quinn. Dan freaking Quinn. Ladies and gentlemen, Dan Quinn met expectations this year. And I am so happy, or I should say this previous season, but anyway, I was so happy with his coaching. Guys, Dan Quinn, the head coach for the Falcons that lost the Super Bowl to 28-3, like, I don't think he performs better as a head coach because after that Super Bowl, the Falcons just fell off. They were going under 500 and they couldn't win anymore. With Dan Quinn going back to with Dan Quinn being our defensive coordinator, I thought that was a good move because we all know who our defensive coordinator was before Dan Quinn, and that's who? Mike Nolan. I cannot stand that guy's defense. That's why our defense was so bad in 2020. By the way, Mike McCarthy is the one that hired him. I don't know why Jerry would let him hire somebody like that. First of all, y'all do realize that Mike Nolan, before he took our job with the Cowboys, had no other coaching job. The last coaching job I believe he had was like 7 or 8 years before that, where he had a coaching job somewhere else in the NFL, but he got fired because of his defensive coaching job. So he's gone. Can't hate him as a person, but I didn't like his coaching. He was a bad defensive coordinator. I just didn't like him. And then what happens? We fire him, and then we pick up Dan Quinn. When we picked up Dan Quinn, I thought that was a great move. I was like, because you know what y'all know what Dan Quinn did, right? Dan Quinn was the Legion of Boom. He took that Seahawks defense to 2 Super Bowls, but they lost that. But they lost the one of them. But it's still, they were a great defense that year, so that made me have hope for the defense this year. And then when you add Micah Parsons to that occasion, I think that was a lot better. When we drafted Micah Parsons, it just made it better. So here's what I think now with Dan Quinn. With Dan Quinn, outstanding year. Micah Parsons beats DeMarcus Ware's rookie sack record with the Cowboys, I think. He gets many sacks as a rookie. Micah Parsons, I should say, got many sacks. I forgot how many sacks he had, but he was almost up there for defensive player of the year. But TJ took it. But we knew TJ was going to take it anyway because the way TJ has outstanding defense, I love it. But Micah was meeting expectations. He was getting through the line, sacking the quarterback. He even played D line for us when DeMarcus Lawrence was out for the first few weeks of that season, this past season, and I liked it. And he was getting through the quarterback, sacking him. He was making big plays, and that's what I like about Micah. Mike is always hungry, and he's ready to play football when he's ready to go, and he brings energy. And that's what I liked about Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn taught him very well. And Dan Quinn changed our whole defense. You have your second-year corner, Trayvon Diggs from Alabama. Trayvon, 11 picks. Almost beat Night Train Lane's record for most picks in a season. But Trayvon also did blow 1,000 yards coverage. That was a little upsetting. I think Trayvon can get better at that, at not blowing coverage, but he has to work on it. Like, he's got to find a system to where he can play corner, which he can. He can get a pick, but not blow coverage at the same time. Because when people throw in Trayvon Diggs' way, Trayvon Diggs is just ready to grab that ball and pick it off. And some of Trayvon's picks have come in big key moments. For example, he got one against the Patriots, which got him a pick 6 against the Patriots. He picked off his old Alabama quarterback, Mac Jones. He took it to the house, which got us the lead. And then after that, we all know what happened. But we still won the game. But that was still a key moment. Got a couple of picks against Sam Darnold. Tom Brady, he got a couple picks. Well, he got one pick. And yeah, the way that he looks for the ball and gets an interception thrown to him is just amazing, and I love it. But he's got to work on that yard coverage, and I'm sure Dan Quinn will help him with that. But our defense changed it around. Our defense was leading in turnovers. I think that our defense was the leader in turnovers this year out of everybody else from this past season. I think we were leaders in interceptions as well. And Trayvon was leader in interceptions as well. But in all that, I think Dan Quinn just changed that whole defense. Like we went from bottom of the league defense to one of the top defenses in the league, and it was kind of scary at one point. And our defense was also, I think, more carrying us those last few games than our offense was for those last few games in the season. Other than that, I think our defense will meet I think Dan Quinn will meet expectations, and I think he will. I think he'll. I think with that, let me with that defense this year, I think Dan Quinn will meet expectations again, and I think he'll get us to right in the right direction. Because again, you saw in Seattle did amazing, and that's why I think he's going to do it again this year. Now let's talk a little bit more about the defense. The defense, Randy Gregory leaving us like that was such a that move was so bad. That was terrible. That hurt me. That really, really hurt me. It didn't hurt me as much. It hurt me more than it did Amari because I understood Amari's. But Randy Gregory had drug problems, I'm sure. I think he did. He had problems to where he would get suspended. We still give him chance after chance after chance. So what do? We give him a contract. We say, here you go. Here's your contract. Come back at the Cowboys. He's like, okay, gladly. I will. I love you guys. That's not true. No, he dips us and go to the Broncos for the same exact contract. Are you kidding? It was pretty much the same contract that we were giving him. Are you kidding me? I think it was just more same money, same I don't know, but it was pretty much the same. Gregory, how you finna do us like that, bro? Are you kidding me? So we lose Gregory. That's a huge spot we have to fill in, by the way. And you know what? We make it up in the draft because we go get Sam Williams. So I think with Sam Williams, I don't think they're gonna move Micah to D line. Either they move Sam to D line or they move, and that defensive lineman either move Sam Williams to D line or move Micah. I don't know. I don't know, but I think Sam Williams will do good at D line. Keep Micah at linebacker. I think with that defensive line, they work well together. Demarcus Lawrence, Neville Gallimore, and shoot, I forgot. But was going to be Randy Gregory too, but he had to bail on us. Are you kidding me? Come on, how dare you? Anyway, forget that. But Demarcus Lawrence is going to be that leader of the defensive line. That's why he's Tank Lawrence. That's why we call him Tank Lawrence. That's what his social media name is. Demarcus Lawrence brings so much on that D line. He's been given a big contract too in the past, but I love the guy. I was talking to somebody else. We were like Randy Gregory is better than Demarcus Lawrence is because we thought Randy was a little more better than Demarcus. I think Demarcus is still great, but we thought Randy was better more. So that's why we would have kept him if he'd stayed. But he has to go be a Benedict Arnold and leave us. By the way, if you don't know what Benedict Arnold is, look it up. Um, sorry, Benedict Arnold. Benedict Arnold. That's the word. I should say it more slower next time. But but so Randy Gregory brought a lot to that team on that defensive line. Him and Demarcus Lawrence, I think they're a good duo. With him out, with Demarcus back, I think Demarcus healthy, amazing guy. I think he'll bring a lot. He's going to bring that energy for sure. He can get around that. When it comes to stacking the quarterbacks, he's the guy that can get around that offensive line depending on who he's playing, and he can get around and stack them. And he's forced a lot of fumbles in the past before, so that's what I like about him. With the linebacking group, I was not really on board with re-signing Van Der Esch. I When we first drafted him, I thought he was going to be something, but you know what? Van Der Esch has dealt with that all players have also dealt with in the past, and that's that I word. You know what the I word is, people? The I word is injuries. Injuries. He's dealt with injuries in the past. He's dealt with them in consecutive years. Where one year he got hurt, and then this past 2020 season he got hurt week one. Didn't come back to the Cardinals. Didn't come back to the Cardinals game, but it's not like we needed him. That defense sucked anyway. Mike Nolan, forget you, dude. Um, but it sucked. It really sucked, and it really sucked for that 2020 defense. But still, I wasn't really on board with re-signing Van Der Esch. Like you could have used that money somewhere else and gotten Bobby Wagner, Zadarius Smith, somebody like that. You could even trade. We got Dante Fowler Fuller however you say his last name, but I think that was a good pickup. Plus, Dante Fuller was with Dan Quinn in Atlanta, so I think with Dan Quinn working with him, that's going to be amazing. I like when old players come in with. I like when old players go back to the team that their previous coach was on because they know how to work with them better. But with that, now I lost my train of thought. Talking about the defense, yeah, with Van Der Esch, I just kind of didn't like the move. We could have used that money, like I said, to go get somebody else. But we can still trade somebody right now to go get. We can get a big name still. Free agency's not over yet, but still, it's stupid. We haven't made any big moves. We're just sitting duck. But with that, I think the draft made it a little better because we can fill in some spots on that defense. We got a receiver. We signed a couple of our young receivers. We drafted one young receiver. I forgot his name, but he'll be good for us, I believe. Especially with Dak, as I mentioned, Dak works very well with young rookie receivers. I think it's going to be a good year, all in all. But back to the defense, real quick. Let me finish that out with the defense. Again, the defense, the corners, we can do a little better on corners. Anthony Brown, I think he can be good, but I think he's going to be gone, maybe. We need somebody that can help Trayvon. Safeties, who else is there? I think Jordan Lewis is out there. Jordan Lewis can get better. Anthony Brown, it's not that I don't like him. Oh, no, we'll see. I like him. We'll see how he plays. We'll see how this year goes. Safeties, we could have used Tyron Matthew, but all in all, we're good. We lost Keanu Neal. I thought that was pretty big. We could have kept him on the linebacking position. Keanu Neal's a great player, talent. But with that, um, with with my final saying in this, I think the offense, the coaching, and our defense, I think they're going to change a lot this year. I think they're going to bring something more energy because we know how that 49ers loss went. We all know how last season went. We went 10, 12, and 5, and we didn't meet expectations in the playoffs. So they're going to use that as like, hey, we better step it up and do better this year so we can shut people up and prove that we're right. Like Stephen A., who cannot stop blabbering about us. I love Stephen A. Look, when it comes to the Cowboys, I like when he talks about them because it's his funny reactions. But yeah, it's funny, but it's also sad because back talking is bad. But anyway, so with all that, yeah, I think we're going to do better. I think we're going to bring a lot. I think with CD being a more lead role, as I keep talking about, CD is going to be that guy that fills in Amari's spot as number one. Amari changed a lot for us, by the way. Let me go back. When Amari first got here in 2019 in that 2019 trade, we were 3-5. When he got here, we were 3-4. We lost that game against the Titans. We went 3-5, and then after that, it just changed. Amari changed that offense for Dak because Dak had a guy. No, not 2018, 2019 season. Yeah, Amari changed a lot for that guy in Dallas. So I think that was a good move. I think that was a good trade. It changed our franchise around a lot. And now with Amari gone, I think CD's going to fill in that spot and make it a lot better. And Gallup's going to make it better. And James Washington. That's his name. James Washington. That's what's going to make it's going to be a lot better. Coaching, it's going to get better. Kellen Moore's going to stick to how he does his offense. Mike McCarthy's going to fix his time management and the way he's been coaching things. I think he'll change. I just hope he changes soon. Dan Quinn going to be the same guy as always. Keep that defense going. He brings a lot. He brought a lot to that defense last year, so we'll see how he does this year. Free agency moves, not very happy. Although we did have a good draft in the free agency. We had a good draft. We picked up a couple guys. We re-signed some guys that I like. But we just need to go pick up a big name because time's running out. We can do this before the season runs out. I'd be shocked if I lead this podcast and if we sign or trade a big name. I'll be just shocked if my phone alerts me and it's Adam Schefter saying the Cowboys traded for somebody big on the defense or offensive side. I don't know, but all in all that, we're gonna close it out here. This was a 48-minute podcast. Wow. Last one was 25 minutes with Kyrie. The first one with the Warriors and Celtics in the finals, that was 35. I knew this podcast episode would be long because I had to talk about the Cowboys. And I know when I talk about the Cowboys, it was going to be a long time. But anyway, that's all I have for today's episode. You're listening to Cooper Sports Podcast. Again, I'm your host, Cooper Brooks. Thank you for listening. Please share this podcast. I want this podcast to get out to the world. Tell your mom, your aunt, whoever you live with, your mom, aunt, grandma, grandpa, brother, sister, shoot, even your neighbors, anybody, please. I want this podcast to be out. I feel like this podcast can be something if I keep meeting expectations and growing and I'm bringing you good content so far for the first 3 episodes. I hope y'all have enjoyed it. Episode 4 will be tomorrow, obviously. Oh, I want to give y'all something. I want to give y'all an update. I think I'm going to change the day-to-day. I think I'm going to change it to only weekdays day-to-day instead of weekends. So, like, Friday's tomorrow. So, tomorrow will be the final episode for this week, and the next week we'll start back again on Monday. I guess because, the weekends, I want to just, like, spend my weekend, enjoy, relax, do whatever I need to do. And it's not that I don't like podcasting on the weekends. That's the time for me to rest, and I just want to do that. So, with that being said, episode 4 tomorrow. You're listening to Cooper Sports Podcast. Again, I'm your host, Cooper Brooks. Thank you for watching.